start off in a condition of high order, and whatever way in which time has to flow for the thing to be in a more disordered state is probably the right or the forward direction of time, because again, the initial condition of being in high order is just one state, whereas there's so many states for it to become to go into once you shake the box. Suppose, however, that God decided that the universe should finish up in a state of high order. So what about God? So sometimes in this book, God comes up, even though typically spirituality is not really something that we feel obligated to address in physics, but in cosmology, because it is so the universe is, after all, the entire universe, and so it sometimes comes up. Suppose, however, that God decided that the universe should finish up in a state of high order, but that it didn't matter what state it started in. At early times, the universe would probably be in a disordered state. So if there is a God, and God decides that the universe should end up in a high orderly state, then it could be that in the beginning it was in a more disorderly state, and now it's going to go towards the high order. So this would mean that disorder would decrease with time. If God wanted that, that is, you would see broken cups. You would see broken cups gathering themselves together and jumping back onto the table. So the thing that we just talked about. Hello, Professor Nick. Last line of defense when answers are lacking. Exactly. It is nice to have faith in something. It can help on the harder days, especially. But if we're saying that God would want more order and less disorder as the universe does something, I guess. I don't want to say expands, because actually expansion leads to disorderliness. But as the arrow of time, I guess, goes in the right direction, in other words, well, you would see those broken cups. You would see those broken cups gathering themselves together and jumping back onto the table, instead of going from a highly ordered state to a disorderly state, and being the spilled cup with the broken pieces and the tea and everything all on the floor. However, any human beings who were observing the cups would be living in a universe in which disorder decreased with time. Disorder decreased with time. So it's almost like if we were used to such a universe where the disorderliness decreases over time, then if we saw the cups putting themselves back together on the table and going from broken to unbroken, that might be, normal at that point. Thank you so much. Did you like the live, Professor and John Jones? John Jones and everybody, thank you so much for being here. And could you please like the live, and can we get 10 likes? So they would remember events in the future. If this was the case, then those types of people who lived in that type of universe might just remember the future, right? So I shall argue that such beings would have a psychological arrow of time that was backward. That is, they would remember events in the future and not remember events in the past. When the cup was broken, they would remember it being on the table, but when it was on the table, they would not remember it being on the floor, because they would know the future and not the past. Ah, I see. It is rather difficult to talk about human memory because we don't know how the brain works in details. That's a good question. I'll come to you. So, like the live. Thank you.